we were talking about this off air. I didn't know this, but I was fascinated, and so we had to obviously talk about it. You were actually in the jail that Epstein died in. Everyone has their opinions on how that went about, and you were telling me something that made me want to talk about it here. So my first question to you is that jail. What is it really like as someone who was an inmate there at one point in time? And then we'll talk about, obviously, whether or not you think Epstein killed himself. But describe the jail, as an inmate, from the inmate's perspective.
Well, you got nicer hotels. And listen, the jail's called the MCC, for the people who don't know, Manhattan Correctional. I spent a little over 4 years there, which is a long time to stay because, there's no movement.
In solitary?
So some of the time in solitary, some of the time in a regular unit like anybody else, where you get up on the roof in a cage upstairs. It's like I guess a half or full court. It's not full court basketball size, and it's caged up top. And anybody that stays there goes up to the roof, like once a week. You're supposed to go up or whatever. But so I was there about 4 years. The thing about these jails, they're highly secure. Years ago, somebody tried to escape out of there, and unless you're Spider-Man, I don't think you're getting out. They were trying to get out that way, actually, or down the wall somehow. But in my belief, something is amiss in MCC to say that an inmate killed himself. Now, I've been in high security units, 9th floor, 10th floor. You see a lot of terrorists up there, and guys that are disciplined, they're locked up. But we have cameras in our cells, a lot of us. So when I shower, the camera's in your cell. So they turn on some of these units, they turn the shower on, they don't move us. And they'll tell you at 4 in the morning, get up, shower. They said through a loudspeaker. Sometimes you're in other cells in lockdown and they move you 2 or 3 times. You're always handcuffed from the back. You move down into the guards move us down the tier into a shower, same thing. They secure us first in the shower before they uncuff you. Depending on who you are, sometimes you're shackled feet and arms behind your back. And they move you with more than one officer, so there's no security breaches. And they go through these systems of security breaches to make sure no one breaches the security and make sure they're not accused of anything themselves. And down the tiers, there's cameras. So it's not what people think, that there's no cameras, and there's cameras everywhere now, just like the street. The idea of having these cameras is not so much for guys like me, the inmate, it's for the safety of the guards. And I'm not just talking about their physical safety. I'm talking about so a guy, will use me as an example, as an inmate, can't say he just beat me up, or he just tried to do this to me, or he spit in my food, or he didn't give me my food, or I didn't get my medical attention I was supposed to get. Although the medical system's screwed up, and they come see us like, you got to put in slips and this and that. On Fridays, usually, they do their rounds, and they come by each cell and ask, are you okay? And they see you physically, and that covers them, their liability, although they didn't do anything for you. And they tell, well, we'll see you next week, or whatever they say, So if you're sick, you better forget about it in jail. And if you need something done with your eyes or teeth, you better forget about that too. So that part, we all understand. But you have high security inmates in there, depending on who they are and where they come from. So when they flew to get me, for example, in Brazil, when I was in those penitentiaries fighting, I was fighting from coming back here. They extradited me back. They came to get me in a Gulfstream 5. It's a private, I think it cost them $250,000, something like that, just a gas to come get me. So, when they're taking you to that level, you're a high security inmate. So, I'm not going to be wandering around the jail without really being intensely watched. Any phone calls I make, I didn't ever have emails, but now they have emails, so everything's copied. Any mail that comes in is looked at, secured, copied, check the envelopes. They check books to make sure nothing's inside. It's got to come from the publishing house now. These are all security measures for the inmates and also more so for the officers. And these cameras are so nothing can happen to those guards or be accused of something happening to them. So I never believed that Epstein killed himself, because he's probably the number one high priority inmate, not just in MCC, probably in the country at the time, right? Because he's involved with, the accusation that President Clinton was on his island. It's all over the news 25, 26 times. Do you think they're going to leave this guy by himself? Now, when a camera goes down in his unit, in his cell, or down the hall from his cell, not only the officer on the floor knows it's down, the desk on the floor knows it's down. Security in the control room knows it's down. There's also backup sensors that knows it's down. There's no way that camera's down and they didn't know about it. So I'm not buying the fact that they said these cameras were down. Now, you're talking about things that are way above our comprehension. And I'm not accusing the guards, but I don't know what happened here. And I think it's way above their pay grade. So if it's NSA, CIA, whoever, they are not leaving that man unattended in that cell with no camera. I just can't buy that. And I know the way we're treated. When I got moved back from Brazil, they brought me to Falkenberg. Falkenberg it's not equipped like MCC, but I was brought into a unit where I'm in a glass cell with 6 or 7 guys. So when we shower, everybody's watching us. When they shower us, it's when they feel like putting it on. When you shit, they're watching you. There's cameras inside. So, and we are nowhere near the highest priority in this country like that man was. Right. So how can that possibly be a fact? I just don't buy it.
I have a question for you. If you were an inmate, and I imagine...
I wasn't an inmate. Unfortunately.
But I'm saying, if you're an inmate, and I don't believe that Epstein probably was able to talk to anybody, but if you're an inmate with Jeffrey Epstein, what would you have said to him?
I don't think I'd say anything to him because he's a pedophile. He's a pervert. He's a rich bastard that abused kids. And I don't think you would have a word with him. Not that I don't think, I know we wouldn't talk to him. Right. There's nothing to say to that guy. And you get a high priority inmate that comes in off like Madoff, right? They beat him up. They're trying to extort him. That's normal inmate stuff. And Carmine Persico, the boss of the Colombo family, took him in and protected him after that, and then it stopped for him. But you're going to talk to a guy like that because he's educated. Whether what he did, it doesn't matter. He's a criminal. Everybody else in there is a criminal. But a guy like Epstein, nobody wants to talk to because of what he's involved with. He's just not going to have any friends, whether unless there's something wrong with them too.
And that goes for most of the jails you've been in, right? Like basically every crime is, I don't want to say the word is accepted, but you can like converse with the guy over doing something else. But when it comes to women and children, that was always like for criminals on communicating with criminals, you don't talk to the pedophiles, right? Those are
the pedophiles, forget it. They're done. And if they're in serious jails, you got guys like the ABs that kill them, the pedophiles. I mean, you got guys that, rape women, they got problems. You got guys that beat up a woman, it's not really a problem, to be honest with you. Guys, it's just accepted. People fight with the husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend. It's just part of the streets and whatever goes on, dysfunctional relationships. But the raping of kids, the raping of women, yeah, it's an issue. That stuff is a big issue. Everything else, for the most part, people don't take it as a personal affront in prison, no.
And that MCC jail, I mean, where does it rank in terms of the worst jails you've been in?
Nah, MCC is just a holding facility while guys are fighting cases and trials and going to get
You were
shipped.
there for 4 years.
I was there 4 years because of my situation with, obviously I'm involved in serious stuff with crime families and murders and, RICO cases and.
Beautiful. Well, very insightful to know what it's like, I guess, really inside that famous MCC jail. So thank you guys. Thank you, John. And quick shout out, because it's a spiffy jacket you got on.
I got it from Michael Jackson before he died. I know how to do the moonwalk, everybody. And it's black and red, the Albanian colors. And thank you, Jihad. This is funkwear.
I would pay to see you do the moonwalk.
Oh, yeah. Put up the money and shut up. Now we're off camera.